Well, thanks for joining us for the interview today. It's nice to have you here. Can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Joshua Rose. I'm currently studying recreation administration at Utah State. I expect to graduate at the end of next summer. I'm just looking to get into the amusement park industry and see how I can help parks become better, as well as gain some experience in the field and better myself through that, as well as understand more what the industry is looking for and how I can be beneficial to the parks I work at.
Well, looking at your resume, you've done a lot of work in the park industry already.
Mm-hmm.
What was the draw to the park industry for you?
For me, I really wasn't like super into amusement parks until I was like 15, and then I moved back to Southern California, and my family lived about 20 minutes from a local park, and so we got season passes there and started going, and I was like, oh, this is really fun. But it wasn't like a career thing. I ended up coming here to Utah State to study engineering, but decided that wasn't for me. And I was like, what can I do? Well, I really liked amusement parks. I liked recreation. So I decided to switch to that, and amusement parks is what I decided to specialize in. So since then, I worked as a ride operator and then as a guest experience intern in the rides operation department. And I've just loved those so much that I want to just keep getting further into the industry and better expanding what I have going on.
So thinking back about all the experience you've had already working in parks, what has been the most challenging thing you've had to deal with working in the parks that you've worked in?
I think for me, a lot of the challenge has just been depending on like the schedule of the day, just some days having a lot of things going on and variety, and then other days just being like the same thing. Like you push the same 3 buttons over and over. Sorry. So you kind of just that jump between monotony and then just like completely variety. I think sometimes it's hard when you sit and do all that monotonous stuff and then immediately jump to the variety. But I think that's something where I've learned, especially the last couple of jobs I've had, to make the most of the monotonous times by making them interesting and fun. And then the variety, I'm able to adapt really quickly and enjoy that as well.
Okay. What's the most rewarding part?
I think the most rewarding part is just being able to work in an amusement park. Like, it's one of those careers where you tell people like, oh, I work in an amusement park, and they're like, oh, that's so cool. They have all these questions. It just feels super fulfilling because you can go home at the end of every day and be like, oh, I helped 10,000 people ride this one ride. Like, even if it really isn't that big of a deal, you clearly made an impact versus some jobs it's like you sit at a desk, you send 4 emails, and that's your day.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't really feel like you made an impact. So I think just being able to, even in the littlest bit, help people is one of the best things about this industry.
Awesome. So having been in the industry for a bit, you know that conflict arises in the workplace, whether it's with customers, visitors, or whether it's between employees. Can you give an example of a time you've had to deal with conflict in the workplace, and what that looked like, and do you have a philosophy around how you deal with it?
Yeah. So we obviously deal with all kinds of situations with guests and everything like that. I think one of the biggest things was over the last summer, my job was to go around to each of our rides and time how quickly they were doing their operations and compare them to how, what the expectation was, like what the goal was, and basically go around and tell them like, hey, I saw you were doing this, I think you can do this, and that'll make it a little bit more quicker, more efficient. And I had a few ride supervisors that they would get that feedback and come back to me and be like, hey, that time's not realistic, you should change that. Or, hey, you're timing the ride wrong, like this is the actual time that you should be counting, not this. Like, we can't control that. And I was able to talk to their supervisors and be like, okay, like I'm looking at this ride manual and it says they can load and unload this ride in 24 seconds. And we were able to determine, okay, that one, that's not correct. That was before we had all these safety protocols and new systems. So we were able to update that. But then the ones where we came back and was like, no, that's right. Like the ride will let them send it that quick. We were able to go back and be like, hey, like this is not a personal thing. Like I'm literally just sending this out to you to help you get better. You can take it for whatever you want. Like, I'm not going to be able to fire you or promote you or give you a raise from this. So don't take that back out on me. And so we were able to resolve those conflicts, even though they didn't like me. And eventually it's kind of, you start to not like them after they give you the same snarky response, but we were able to just, okay, we may not like each other, but we're going to take this feedback and try to work through it and tell each other what we can and can't do just to make sure everything's getting better.
Nice. That's a challenging job for someone that's new in another location too.
Yeah, it was fun.
Nice. What's your favorite position you've held, or the favorite job that you've done at one of the amusement parks you've worked at?
So I would probably say being a ride operator. I loved being an intern and getting that whole experience, but I had a lot of times while I was the intern that I'd be like timing this around and be like, oh, I just want to step in and operate.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things where I love doing it, and I'd love to be in a position where I can step in and go do it, but it's not one where I want to be doing it year round. It's just really fun to be able to go out there on the line for a couple hours each day or whatever. I just really love that because you're interacting with people all day, every day. You can make each experience good for each guest that rides the ride. One of my favorite things was the ride I worked was Pony Express. So it's super Western themed. We had cowboy hats and suspenders and all these for uniforms and everything. And we were able to give like our spiels that are saying, hey, you need to be safe, stay seated, hold on, while also staying in character and having fun with it. And it's just super entertaining to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Very cool. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Knowing that this is a part-time position, but 5 years down the road, it sounds like you're getting ready to graduate from college.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself?
I think this is an industry where a 5-year plan isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do. I've met a lot of people where they started here as a high school summer job, and 40 years down the road, they're still at the same park, but they're like the VP of the park. Versus other people, they take one job, and then the next summer they're at a different place, next summer they're at a different place. I think it's a hard thing to do a 5-year plan. I'd love to be able to find a company that I really mesh with and stay there for a long period of time. And so I'd hope that would be this company. But I'm more than willing to branch out and go out, find more experience, and come back if that's what's required. So in 5 years, I just want to have more experience and better understand the industry and what I want to do in it.
Okay. What could we do to be that company for you? What would some of the tangibles be that we could do for it?
I think just having stability in a lot of things. There's a lot of instability in the industry and just as a career. It's hard to have a job that you have the summer and then you get laid off for the winter and then have to come back. So I think just being able to have a job year-round, even if it's not as many hours in the winter, just having that consistency, as well as just being a welcoming environment. I've had some jobs where you get there, they give you like the most basic of training, throw you out on the line, and you're stuck there by yourself. So having someone that I can go to be like, hey, I need help with this, or hey, I'm looking to get this continuing education while I'm here. Can you guys help me with that? Those are some of the things that I think would be beneficial to keep me here in the long term.
Awesome. Great. Do you have any questions for us?
Not at this moment.
Great. Thanks so much, Josh.
Perfect.